Welcome to part two of the Education Podcast along with Curtis Piper. We're just going to jump straight back into where we left off. Enjoy. Welcome back to another episode of the Finance Bible Podcast. You're joined with myself, Zeke,
and your co-host, Oscar. But before we get into it, please note that nothing in this podcast should ever be considered as personal financial advice.
But if that is what you are seeking, get in touch, let us know, and we will hook you up with the correct professionals.
Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Let's get into it. We've already spoken a little bit about male teachers vanishing, like they don't really exist. So only 17% of primary school teachers are male.
Really?
Yeah, so not even 1 in 5.
Why is that?
To be fair, like growing up, I was never like, I want to be a teacher.
No. Growing up, no.
But also, gender equality. Or equity, as we call it now. You know, we need more women in engineering and stuff. So what's going on here?
That's a great idea. That's a very good point that you've just made. If we are going to bring more women into the workforce, like they are doing in the mining industry, for an example, they're
coming in a lot in the mining industry.
Exactly. So if that is the case, then surely we can see something happen for us in the male primary school teachers side of things.
Yeah, like Defence Force advertising, you see a lot of women-only roles going. Should they not do the same thing in primary schools for men?
I think so.
And high schools.
I think it's come to
and preschools and childcare, like all these different things. I think that's what we need if we're going to. I mean, I completely disagree with that whole concept, to be honest. Like, you can't just introduce people into a workforce to try and balance it out. I think it's the dumbest thing in the world.
That is an interesting concept, isn't it, in of itself? And lowering the standards that women need to make compared to the men.
Yeah, like Scandinavia tried it, it failed. It actually boosted the gender gap. So what they did was they basically enabled and removed the barriers that so-called exist for women going into like men roles and stuff, and like gave them more pro-choice education. And what they actually saw was an increase in the number of women going into childcare, teaching, nursing, and a decrease going into roles like engineering and that.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, so at the end of it's choice at the end of the day. Men don't want to be primary school teachers aside from 17% of them.
That's right.
Otherwise they would be.
Right.
And women don't want to be engineers. Otherwise they would be. Creating inequality to create equality is probably the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And what I mean by that is, you know, if you create an inequality in what you need to access something, reduced marks, free courses, women-only jobs, whatever the situation is, you're creating inequality by doing it. But your end goal is to create equality, apparently.
Yeah, I think I need someone to explain that to me.
Yeah, then it's going to be an endless cycle of inequality. Like if I'm growing up and I want to go in the Defence Force and I'm seeing 50 women-only jobs, I'm thinking, what is this? It's a silly concept.
Maybe that's when you go down that avenue of transitioning, so you can get that job.
Jesus Christ. Boys are 3 times more likely to be suspended, and that's a behavioural issue. Men are constantly told that they're behaviourally bad. We're too boisterous is the favourite word. And we're violent.
Yeah.
Although most of them aren't from violence. It's normally class disruption.
Yes.
Which then brings me to, again, the main reason that I got in trouble in school. I wasn't violent by any means. Never was. I wouldn't hurt virtually anyone.
No, I can attest to that. Absolutely.
Yes, thank you. But I would cause a lot of distraction in class because I was bored.
I can attest to that as well.
Very bored.
Yes.
So I'd be sitting there like, okay, cool, how do I entertain myself? And I would play up and make jokes and do silly things that were, I back it today. I love it. I think it was great.
I think there was a lot of days where it was actually beneficial for you to do so because...
Absolutely. I brought a smile to everyone's face.
Exactly. And
I probably removed 55% of teachers being stressed by making them laugh.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're in a position now as a boy where formerly you were doing linear learning and that's what we're good at, that's what we're designed to do, and then all of a sudden it's nonlinear, we're in English writing stories about how lions look like grass or something, and you know the sky's beautiful today and it resembles a pink ribbon, and you know that leads into this and that and the other, and it's all some
Very
some
subjective,
yeah,
isn't it?
some wild
Also,
story like, this guy walked past a fly, and that's a sign for he's grown into an adult, like because it's small and he's big. Like there's
yeah.
so many dumb things, and I'm sitting there thinking, this is terrible. Like, why am I here?
What was the like learned outcome after a? Are you specifically speaking about maybe creative writing?
Well, yeah,
Or
that's pretty much what English was 90% of the time, from my memory.
it really was, and also just kind of studying other creative
Yeah,
writers and
yeah,
what they wrote.
yeah. You're studying a lot of Shakespeare. You're studying a lot of movies.
Hmm.
You're talking about like camera angles and stuff. Do you remember that? Like,
I
you'd watch a
do.
movie and you'd be like, okay, what did this low angle do?
Right. Yeah, and you
And
would
it's like,
dissect the film and you would
yeah.
understand a low angle means that character is superior or
But even then, like, it doesn't necessarily mean that, because it's what did it make you feel?
yeah.
And each person is going to feel something different each time. Like, I could tell you, like, I could go out and I could survey 100 people, and I'd tell you, hey, you're an attractive person.
Hmm.
And you might feel really happy. Someone else might feel really weirded out.
Yep.
Someone else might feel like they need to report me to the police.
That's fair.
Someone else might be like, you know what, you are too.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
that's probably 99 out of 100. But
Yeah.
it's all subjective. It's all subjective. Like, there's no. It's one of the most pointless topics in the world, and it
But
drives me crazy.
subjectivity is interesting though because it means like, is the truth that vast? Is it that wide?
Yeah, but if it's my truth, how am I going to get 24 out of 100 for not explaining something that you wanted me to explain?
Hmm.
But someone else can tell their truth, and it's 100 because it's what the truth is meant to be in that creative aspect.
Okay.
So, like, I just think it's the most pointless topic in the world.
It is interesting. I think the creative side of things. I think it's valid to have in the school system, just because I mean creative minds such as all the inventors and stuff, but that's like you were saying, a linear path of thinking and learning, not so much this wishy-washy.
Yeah, and I mean, sure, have it in there, but do you then maybe have it in as a elective, not the only compulsory thing? Like, we have math as an elective, English is compulsory.
That is interesting.
Like,
Yeah.
hello.
As long as English is, teaching the children how to communicate more so than to dissect film and write
Yeah, do
creatively.
you maybe remove English and make like reading and communication?
Yeah.
As we said, reading, 1 in 3 can't do it in year 9.
Mm.
And on that note, boys trail girls by 20%.
Wait a minute. Boys trail girls. So girls are doing
Girls are doing 20% better than boys in reading in year 9.
okay.
So, I mean, we're not doing well.
Come on,
It's
lads.
not doing well at all.
Lift.
Um, and yeah, anyway, it ends up in males feeling disadvantaged, not doing well, dropping out due to lack of interest, which works well for our trade industry, but which is struggling massively. But yeah, they act out, they drop out, they get bored, they disengage, and that's what creates more and more problems.
Hmm.
We're starting to teach a lot of issues in terms of fragility training as well. Like, there's a lot of mental weakness in Australia. We are one of the worst countries for mental health in the world. In fact, I'd go as far as saying number one.
Really?
Yeah, number one worst in the world.
I don't believe that, but I think we're up there.
Well, let's look at the statistics.
Let's
We already know that there's an overdiagnosis of anxiety, depression, ADHD, like all of
a
that
lot of
kind of thing.
self-diagnosis as well.
Yeah, and it's also as simple as if you go to a doctor and you've got a template of things that you need to talk about, and you've got to tick like, I feel this or I feel this.
Hmm.
It's pretty easy to tick things that are going to give you what you want.
That's a great point.
Yeah, like, it's going to be pretty common sense. Like, if you're at the point where you're going somewhere to see if you have anxiety or something, I'm pretty sure you would know, first of all. But second of all, if you want that diagnosis, you're going to get it. There's no way you're going to walk in there and go, no.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be there.
Yep.
Um, and you can do them online as well. Like, you already know the answer. Um, but there's also a lack of training, or virtually, I don't recall any training in school, that is, for mental toughness, stoicism, responsibility. Like, at home, yes, absolutely. And actually, you know what? In test environments, like pressure cooker environments,
Hmm.
then yeah, a bit of mental toughness because you got to deal with that.
Yep.
Well, let's remove them. Let's do at-home assignments for math.
Yeah.
The only form of it that there was is now gone. Even public speaking is on the way out in school. It's
Really?
reduced drastically. Um,
That's a shame. I remember The public speaking side of things was amazing in our school.
I remember I had one of the greatest speeches of all time.
I was going to talk about that.
Yes.
I was going to say the confidence that you kind of grew into that day was phenomenal, and
No,
I think it should be a part of our education system for sure.
it should be. Yeah, that was miraculous. It was probably the most confident man in the world.
It was, and it kind of oozed out of you and onto the class,
It
and it
did.
was great.
Yeah, and then everyone kind of got involved. They're like, well, if he can do that, let's all do it. Like,
Exactly.
nothing's going to go wrong.
You took away all the fears in the room,
I
and
did.
everyone was there to have fun and enjoy listening to each other's speeches.
And that's how it's done. In terms of psychological distress, 42.3% of young Australians, so between 15 and 24, in the year 2021 reported high psychological distress. Let's just round
Okay.
up. Half our population between 15 and 24 reported high psychological distress in a 12-month period.
Wow.
What does that even mean? What is high psychological distress?
I don't understand.
Are
I don't know.
you in solitary confinement?
High psychological distress. Okay, so this person must be going through the wars right now.
They're in solitary confinement.
They are, and they are distressed.
Yeah. Like, I don't think I've even felt low to moderate psychological distress, let alone high.
Hmm.
It's like, what is high?
How is that so high? How is there so many people? When people have like a common theme or a common problem, they kind of talk about it together and they get through it together, and it kind of that's how things are solved.
Yeah, but no, they talk to people about it and they go, get me involved in that. I also have high psychological distress. You think you're doing it tough? Well, look at this.
Trust me, my trauma outweighs your trauma.
Trauma buddies.
Yeah.
And here's actually probably my favourite stat, as in, it's a terrible one, but it's my favourite for the day. Australia leads the OECD in antidepressant use.
That's an outrageous statistic for Australia to have.
So let's run through some countries, all right? Let's take a look at the world. United States, United Kingdom, Turkey, Switzerland, Sweden, Spain, Slovenia, Norway, New Zealand, Mexico, Luxembourg, Lithuania, Latvia, Korea, Japan, Italy, Israel, Ireland, Iceland, Hungary, Greece, Germany, France, Finland, Estonia, Denmark, Czech Republic, Costa Rica, Colombia, Chile, Canada, Belgium, Austria,
Outrageous.
and Slovak Republic. We have more antidepressant use than every single one of them.
Wow, what does that say about us?
We are
not in
the mentally weakest nation in the world,
Mm.
or in 38 countries. But I would call that the world.
I mean, yeah, essentially so. I'm sure in other countries we probably still do have more antidepressants
Yeah, I mean,
usage.
I'm thinking about it now, and my ancestors, right, born into Germany,
Hmm.
bombing going on,
Yep.
flee the country, come to Australia, on their own, nothing, starting from fresh,
Mhm.
and they make a life, they deal with it. Bingo. I'm born now.
Yep.
It's been generations, a couple, and I'm here thanks to them doing things.
Mhm.
Do you think that in that moment they were feeling high distress psychologically? I think I would call that high psychological distress.
I was going to say, I think if I was being bombed, that would cause a lot of distress.
Yeah, and you're leaving your family, you're leaving everything you know, everything you have, and you're fleeing to a country that you know nothing about on a ship
Mhm.
infested with rats, people getting sick and dying. You make it to the country and you're like, okay, what now?
And they had no antidepressants then.
No antidepressants.
So they just had to be mentally tough,
Yeah, they just had to survive.
accept what was, and use it to their advantage.
Yeah. Cubans fleeing, getting to America.
Mhm.
Do you think they were stressed? Probably.
Probably.
Did they have antidepressants? No. And here we are, born into a world where we're in Australia ourselves, so we're not at risk of, you know, any form of war zone, any
No,
bombs
Australia's
landing on
quite
us.
isolated, so
You know, at the moment in the Middle East, there's a bit going on, but we're not there, thankfully.
Mhm.
But even for us to have such a high level of dependence on antidepressants, like the people currently that are doing it tough in Iran or Israel or
Mhm.
anywhere in the world that's under like pressure by that, Russia, Ukraine, are they going to be in the same position as us? Well, no, they're not.
Mm.
I guarantee you 50% of their population, 42% of their population or whatever, doesn't report the issues that we do.
So I wonder what is the reason that Australians are seeking out antidepressants for their high psychological distress. between the ages of 15 and 24.
Yeah.
Between the ages of 15 and 24 are surely almost your golden years, you'd think.
I couldn't tell you. I
mean,
could not tell you.
15, you kind of almost, you get your license around 16, and then eventually you get your freedom around 17. And so that's great. Now you can go travel with your friends, and then you're out of high school at 18, going into uni. Is that it? Is it the universities?
Well, they're not doing uni at 15.
Well, that's true. That's very true.
I remember being 15, 16, 17, 18, and I was the most carefree person in the world.
That's what I thought Australians were. I thought we were very laid back.
I thought that too, but
maybe
we're laid back because we're on antidepressants.
I thought we would be able to take it on the chin,
Yeah,
and then just keep moving forward. But it seems like we have to go to.
You know what? Maybe in English they should start putting on Rocky Balboa so that we can learn how to keep taking the hits and keep moving forward.
I think so.
Because
nobody is going to hit as hard as life.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's how hard you can get hit. Onto financial literacy. So there's no compulsory personal financial education in any school.
That's outrageous. We need to get some sort of financial literacy in there.
Would it be fair to assume that financial stress is a key part of antidepressant use? Well, probably not, because 15 to 24 you wouldn't be feeling financial stress.
Or maybe you would be. I don't know.
Maybe 20 to 24.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. But then it would be 20 to 24, not 15 to 24.
15 seems too young, I think.
Yeah. So anyway, at some point it is. We know that a vast majority of divorces happen due to financial stress.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that there's a lot of financial stress in the world, especially in Australia today, with we're in the top 5 for household versus income gaps in the world.
Top 5.
Top 5.
Wow, that's not somewhere we want to be.
Edging on to number 1. We're close.
Who's beating us right now?
I believe it's London.
Really?
Well, England as a whole, but
yeah.
But we are in a position, we haven't had real wage growth for 10 years.
Why?
Terrible running of a country.
I guess. Yeah, that's a fair point. I honestly sometimes think, who is running our country?
Yeah.
And where are they leading us?
Yeah. No, I know where they're leading us. It's called a dark abyss.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there. But yeah, no real wage growth in 10 years. As in, our wages have gone up, but inflation, house prices, so on and so on, we're actually still the same as 10 years ago.
Terrible.
But yeah, majority of Australians leave school without any understanding of super, tax, debt. I can confirm that. It's obviously my industry. And 70% of teenagers actually report and say and indicate that they want to learn about money in school, but they're not taught.
I can remember myself bringing that forth in class, thinking, why are we learning about this exactly? We should be learning about how to handle our money and our financial situation for when we are in the workforce, on our own, making a living.
Yeah, it's all good and dandy to teach me about pi and calculating the radius of a circle and stuff like this, but like, hello, how do I make money? Mm-hmm. What is money? Where did money come from? Mm-hmm. What does it mean? How does currency conversion work? How do shares perform? How does property perform? Like, what investment paths is there? How do I save money? What do things cost? What is interest? You learn a little bit about interest, actually, because you do simple interest and compound interest, but they do it from a math perspective, not from a financial perspective.
Right.
So it's just numbers. It doesn't actually mean anything to you, unless you have a good teacher who is like, hey, look, this is what this means. Like, you do credit card interest as well, but unless you're sitting there thinking, this is what credit cards cost, this is a rort, you're just doing numbers on a sheet.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think it's vital that we find a way to introduce that into our education system.
I think that should be probably the number one thing in education that needs to change.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the perfect thing to replace it with. Financial dependence.
You're just going to leave us something pretty fair.
Yeah, well, I'll let the audience figure it out.
Okay.
No, our listeners are smart.
That's true.
If you've got a wonderful stat to hear, and boy, do I. You're going to love this one. Second favourite stat for the day. 42% of Australian 18 to 25-year-olds, so just shy of half of people between 18 and 25 in Australia, rely on Afterpay or credit card to cover basic expenses.
Basic expenses?
Yeah.
No way.
Just getting by day to day. Yep, Afterpay.
Wow.
Yep, credit card.
That is very scary.
18 to 25.
And nearly half.
Yeah.
No way.
If they got taught financial education in school, would that be the case?
No, I don't believe it would. Those numbers would drop drastically.
There we have it. Public versus private divide, we've already touched on a little bit. That was actually my next written down point. You've got in public overcrowded classrooms are under resourced on occasion. There's cultural and behavioural ideologies very present. Whereas in private school, there's more like God talk. There's more academic performance, behavioural outcomes, actual structured environments, and discipline is the main difference.
Yes.
So that's a lot of the issues. Our kids are failing not because they're not smart, but because we've removed every structure that helped them rise or that gives them the potential to be who they can be. That's just not existent anymore. But if we want future leaders, we need strong schools, not soft indoctrination, not soft mental toughness, not exposing us to our biggest flaws as men or whatever. We need to actually change things. Some of the things to change we've obviously talked about. Remove gender and critical race theory, common sense, K to 6, pointless. Fund male teacher scholarships, possibly. Again, I don't think that works. But if we're going to keep doing the, equity,
Of genders in certain.
genders in certain roles, then that's one that should be done. I think it's more important to have males in school than it is to have women in bricklaying.
Yes.
Common sense. Reinforce discipline, parental authority. I think parents need to be more involved in schooling, like 100%.
They do try, don't they? They try to have parent-teacher meetings and try and get the parents involved. I think it is important the school have a direct line to the parents, and the parents have a direct line to the teachers and the school, so that they can get involved in what the kids are going to be learning for that year.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that what they used to do, at least in my experience, was they would bring forward parent-teacher night.
Yes.
And to be honest, I don't think it happened frequently. But they bring forward parent-teacher night, and they would give you like a piece of paper, and it said what was going on, and you take it home to your parents, they fill it out, they give it back to you, you give it to the teacher. That thing went in the bin every time. Out of here.
What kid in his right mind who knew he wasn't doing as well as his parents wanted him to would hand that over?
Exactly. I'm in like year 5. I'm getting in trouble for I don't even know what I was doing in year. I don't know why I got in trouble in year 5. That's outrageous. Let me be.
This is a problem. We needed you to be disciplined more, and you can be 10 times the man you are now.
Ouch. But I'm not going to give that to my parents. I'm not going to let them come in. And they're probably, like, they're not involved in the schooling. They, like, even if I did give it to them, they're probably, what is this? In the bin. Oh, we're busy. We got to work. They might not be able to attend. A lot of parents couldn't attend. You got overnight workers. You got people who are struggling for money. They need to do overtime. And
That's true.
overnight workers, shift workers, whatever it is. It's going to be hard for them to go to school, especially if you've got 2 or 3 children. They need to do 3 in a row somehow. My parents had 5. Not happening. Lucky for me. But yeah, I think it'd be easy enough for teachers to have some kind of system where they have the curriculum, they have what the students learning each day, each week, each month, whatever you want to do, weekly, monthly, I don't mind. Parents log into that portal, government funded, and what a good place to put money, by the way, by the government. Yeah.
Where's it going now?
Oh, many places. Many places.
Different
Nowhere
topic.
useful.
Next episode.
The teachers log in, they get some feedback on their kid for the week or the month or whatever it was. They know what they're learning. They can ask them about it at dinner. Do you remember the old dinner table? You'd sit down, you'd have dinner, and maybe, what did you learn today?
Yes, I do remember those conversations around the dinner table.
Bring them back.
Yeah.
Now my little sister, for example, we weren't allowed to eat in our rooms. We weren't allowed to eat in the lounge room. It was you sit at the dinner table until you finished your meal, and there'd be occasional talk of, what do you do at school or whatever. This little chick, bang, in our room eating food every night.
Unbelievable.
Yep. Terrible. Bring back the table talk. But yeah, no, I think there needs to be some form of system. There was reports that were generated half yearly, does bugger all because it's half yearly. Like, cool, you see the result, you see they're not showing up to class, you could have stopped it 6 months ago. Pointless.
That brings a point I thought of when we were talking about private versus public schools. If there were any statistics you had on homeschooling, was that beneficial to anybody at one point or another?
I think...
Because at that point, I'm thinking they do have to obey the curriculum still, don't they, by the government? But they could at least lead their children in the proper direction and probably leave out the points that we're making are redundant to their education.
I've seen homeschooling done. I've seen it done well. I've seen it done bad.
Yeah.
I think there's a vast, wider gap. As in, there was a kid that I knew that got homeschooled, and when he was actually introduced to other people, socially the weirdest outcome in the world.
And that is an entirely understandable aspect of homeschooling.
Exactly. So you need to find a way to incorporate social schooling. Get them in sports, maybe.
Yes.
Do something. But it can also be done really well. Grant Cardone homeschools, and he's his daughter is doing very well, and all of his I was going to call them students.
Well, they are, aren't they?
Yeah, all of his kids or students, they do very well in school, and that's because he has the resources to enable it.
Okay.
He makes sure they get taught what they need to get taught. He takes out the lunatic garbage that's getting taught, and he marks them. He sits in with them. He goes through the results, goes through what they've done and what they haven't done, and he gives them a reward. He encourages it. And he's encouraging him to finish early as well. Like one of his daughters is doing it at the moment, and she wants to be done everything by 15.
Wow.
Like she's flying through it.
The entire high school.
The entire high school, yeah. And
good for her.
He just, when she does well, he actually posted a video of this. It might have been yesterday or something. I saw it recently. But he's talked about it in many interviews before. He pulls out cash, which not everyone can do. He might have $1,000, and he might say, "Okay, well, you did really well here and here and here. So this $1,000 is yours. However, here you didn't do very well. That needs to be improved. And here you haven't done enough, or you missed classes or whatever, or like whatever the allocation of work that they had to get through wasn't done. So he said, so I'm going to take this, I'm going to take this, and you get 700. You can get this 300 when you're done.
Yeah, well, there you go. That sounds fair.
Fair enough. Not every parent has a spare K
exactly.
around.
I agree.
Yes, but maybe do it with like there's other rewards. You know, you can go hang out with friends, or you can do this, or you can do that, or something.
Just the disciplinary action that the household can take.
Yeah, and even I don't think that like discipline and reward is a very fine line. I think that it should be, in terms of discipline, it can be required, and violence is obviously the undertone of everything in the world. Like if at some point it's going to get violent, like if there's an escalation occurring, like violence underwrites everything, which is why discipline and male authority is so important.
Because it's like be written in your DNA. Or something.
Yeah, that's right. Like if you, let's just take an example. I don't pay a fine tomorrow. What happens?
You know, the police will get involved, surely.
Eventually, yes. So they'll do a court order. I don't show up with a court order.
Okay.
They then come and make me come to the court order.
How?
How do they do that? Violence.
Right.
I still don't pay. Well, guess what? My house is gone. They seize it. After that, I'm doing whatever I'm doing, or I hit someone or something. Like, violence underwrites everything. Everything will get to a point where it's like, okay, well, paper only means so much. You're going to do this. You're going to jail. Well, no, I'm not going to jail. Well, guess what? You bloody are, mate. Violence. Like, it's everything comes down to violence.
Yep.
And ultimately, that's what discipline ends up being. But discipline can happen in many forms. There's disciplinary action. You can't hang out with your friends today, son. You didn't do this, or you were bad here. You're not going to hang out with your friends. How are you going to stop me? Violence.
Yeah, and it has to be, and without it going into the depths of saying abuse is what I would like to say.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, like you're never going to abuse, but
no. But definitely you have to make that physical and dominant stance, and to show your children that you are in charge.
Yeah, and like what? Like you go out at night time and there's a conflict. You know, you try to solve it verbally, and guess what? There's an undertone of violence in the end. If I don't apologise, I'm going to get bashed.
Yeah.
If he doesn't do this, he's going to get bashed. Like it comes down to violence at the end of the day. But that's when you can bring in the reward aspect as well.
Yes.
If you do this, you can get rewarded. If you do that, you can get rewarded.
Yeah. It is that age-old adage of the carrot and the stick.
That's right. And so I think it comes down to upbringing on that end. If you bring your child up to be respectful, they should never experience violence. They should be in a position where they can find a way out of any situation. I don't think I've ever had to get violent before. I don't think I've ever had violence like done against me, as in outside of like rumbling or disciplinary action as a kid or something like that.
Right, I do remember myself. I got a few flogs on the bum.
Oh yeah, I've made wooden spoons broken, everything.
Yeah.
We're talking. Oh yeah. Um, but at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. And I think we also need to bring back competitive benchmarks and bring back exams. Exams are very important. Assignments are pointless. They don't show any actual education. They show what you can go home and do with a computer.
Mm.
Anyone can go home with a computer, get ChatGPT to write up something and find an answer for them, get an older brother, a mum, a dad, a sister, an uncle, whatever. If you do the exam in the moment, you find out what you do and don't know. Oh, but it stresses me out. Grow up.
That'll just be an example of, all right, you are one of the children that gets stressed in these pressure cooker situations, for example, and these other people that are performing well. They're going to go on and succeed in life and do well for themselves, I believe.
You know what? We've already got 42% reporting high psychological stress. Bring back exams. Take it up to 50%. Oh no.
But I don't think that the antidepressants is exactly the way to go for those people.
Yeah, no, I don't either. Bring back competition. Sport carnivals. People are running. People are doing things. I think participation awards, pointless. I think that, actually, not necessarily pointless, but I think that first, second, and third should be celebrated.
Yes,
I
I
think
agree.
if you're the highest performer, you get an actual reward, whether it be like status,
Mhm.
or, which is very prevalent today. You do really well at something, you get status. If you're one of the richest people, you've got status. If you're one of the best athletes, you've got status. You're a great actor, you've got status.
Yes.
Um, they don't necessarily do that anymore in school. So now your top three get pretty equalised outcomes, and everyone else gets participation awards as well. So it's not celebrated. You have a lovely story about this that I've heard a little bit of in background at a pub once or twice, but I've never heard the full story.
Yeah, so I was just going to talk about how participation rewards, I agree with you for the most part that they aren't really setting a good example to the extent that we should be rewarding those people that have performed and put in the effort and that hard work to get that outcome that they wanted. But when I was a child, we had a athletics carnival, and for some reason, I was running with my jacket on, and during the race, rather than before, I was deciding to take it off, and in doing so, I'd fallen over my feet.
How old are you, sorry?
I think I'm about 6.
I'm picturing you right now, about 6 years old, so a little mini version of you, like a Mario,
Yeah,
baby Mario, and running and trying to take your jumper off and trip it over.
it's great. It was great, and so I was like, my head's in the dirt. I'm thinking, crap, quick, get up. I gotta go. I've got to win. And so I did that. And I beat a few other kids, which was, I thought, was a great accomplishment at that time, but I didn't win. But Mrs. Wells, who was an amazing and beautiful teacher, gave me a sticker. So the first, second, and third got stickers and lollies. But she made sure to reward me for my resilience in that
Yes.
situation, where I didn't get up and cry and walk out of the race, or I didn't throw a tantrum in that
Yeah, you
aspect.
put your best foot forward. You made the best of a situation you were in.
Exactly. And I thought that kind of attitude towards kids that maybe stumble but get back up is a good
I
rewarding
completely
system to
agree.
have.
I think if you're doing um, let's just take a sports carnival, like a race or something, like a
Yep.
cross country or whatever. You've got the top performers, you've got the people who really try but they're just not there, and then you've got the people who walk and are lazy and just can't be bothered. That portion of people, the last portion, give them nothing at all. In
Hmm.
fact, even tell them that was hopeless.
Yeah.
Try harder.
Really.
Yeah, let them
Okay.
know. Let them know you can't. Yeah, sure, it's a sports carnival, but guess what? You're not going to be able to do that through life. People in the middle, pat on the back, sticker, whatever. I saw the effort you put in. That was really good.
Hmm.
People at the front that did the best, proper congratulations.
Yeah.
I think that's how it should be done. Um, anything else that you specifically think in terms of the education system, or any last words or anything, words of wisdom from the young man that you might want to
Um,
pass on?
I think that my father gave me a great example of finding out where the truth lies, or at least where we can find our best selves. He said, push someone or something to its limits and see which way it tends. So, in saying that, he was saying to me, look, son, We can either push you to do really well academically, and you are going to fight us tooth and nail to not and rebel. Or in doing so, we've pushed you to your limits, and you have then taken that on and chosen to be responsible, focus on your grades, listen and obey us, and that is what has helped me become a better person today.
Can confirm, good person.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's written in the walls. Well, I'm not going to beat that. That's a nice little speech to finish it. So we'll leave it there. If we've missed anything, or if you think there's something that we did not touch on that we should have, or you've even got a different opinion or some more stats or something you want to throw out, hit me up on the Instagram. I'll get straight on it. I'll find a way to involve it in an upcoming episode and possibly even give you a feature. That's it for now. Enjoy your day and leave us a review. Cheers. Dale. As always, we hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, you know exactly what needs to be done.
Hit that follow button, subscribe, share it to friends, family, or even your co-workers, as sharing this podcast helps not just us, but everyone in the world to learn about their finances.
Thank you, Dale.